Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next super stock live stream for today, December 3rd. We have back with us once again Fintech, PKK on the CSE, PKKFF, Johnson Joseph, the CEO. Johnson, welcome back.
Hey, Jack. Good to be with you.
Johnson's always great to have you. I want to talk about the big news this week, which I think the investor audience does not understand how significant it is, but we're going to talk about it. And now, for anybody that's new to the program, our goal at the Wall Street Reporter next Super Stock live stream is to bring you stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. And these are companies which are going after multi-billion-dollar market opportunities. They have multiple catalysts in place for creating value, and they're now at a key inflection point. Peak Fintech represents all those characteristics. The stock has been moving up from 40 cents to a high of over over $2 recently, Canadian, right? And we've had a number of 10 baggers, 20 baggers this year. We're going to find out now if Peak is going to be our fourth or fifth 10 bagger for 2020. We still have 27 days, 28 days. So Johnson, you got to get to work.
We'll do our best, Jack.
All right, we got to get the Peak to at least $4 to reach that mark. With that said, Johnson, let's jump into Tuesday's news announcement. Again, I think the audience doesn't quite understand the impact. So, in your own words, explain to us exactly what you're doing.
Okay. Well, the announcement basically just starts with the impact that social media is having on our world. The world is changing, the internet is changing the world, but specifically social media has had a huge impact on all of our lives over the last couple of years. Now, 20 or 30 years ago, if you wanted to be famous, Jack, you would essentially just move to Hollywood and take your chances there, right? But nowadays, all you need is a social media account. Now, in all seriousness, social media has been proven to be very, very effective at moving products, and especially in China. Now, the announcement that we made on Tuesday, as you mentioned, we think that it's not fully understood by a lot of people. We've had some questions, so I wanted to come on the show today to help people get a better understanding of the announcement that we made on Tuesday. Now, there are two very important takeaways from that announcement we made on Tuesday. The first one is that the impact that social media has on retail sales in China. As I mentioned before, retail influencers are expected to account for about 150 or 170 million. Excuse me, 170 billion.
I think it's
billion, as in billion US dollars in sales this year in China. And those influencers are just getting started. As I mentioned, this is a phenomenon that's been catching on like wildfire, like over the last couple of years. Now, the first takeaway, the key takeaway from the release is that there's a systemic cash flow issue in China. Even though these influencers are very effective at selling products, they are also running into this cash flow issue, right? So they need money, upfront money to put on these shows. They also need money to fund some of the products that they are buying, right? So a lot of them are buying product. It's their responsibility, believe it or not, right?
I think what we should explain is, because again, it's such a new phenomenon. It's in China mostly. It hasn't caught on in the U.S., but basically, for anybody that this has been in the Wall Street Journal, there's articles coming out on this. It's that basically in China, there's mom and pops, just influencers. They're basically live streaming themselves talking about a product, sort of like the old home shopping network.
The infomercials, exactly right.
They talk about the product, whether it's a dress, shoes, whatever it is. And the way their system is set up, was it the Weibo? Johnson, is it Weibo? Which one is the WeChat?
Well, there are three apps, right? I think in the US, people are familiar with TikTok, right? So TikTok for videos or whatever. So they use TikTok over there to put on these shows. So they use TikTok, they use WeChat, and Weibo. So those are the top three social media apps that they use for these live streaming shows. But yeah, continue. Go ahead.
And the great thing about their system is, unlike in the US, you got to like go to a separate thing to pay with a credit card. Here you press. I mean, from what I understand, it's basically on the WeChat. You see the dress. You see what you press the button. Boom, you get the thing.
Integrated payment, absolutely, yeah. So
in China, social media is a huge thing for selling. This is like a massive phenomenon, and everybody, a lot of there's thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, mom and pops, people doing it as a what they would say, what do the millennials call it, a side hustle, right? This is a thing, or it's a serious business.
You know what? It's not just a side hustle. It's a serious business. Like a lot of people earn their livings. It's a full-time job, by the way. So those influencers, they put on shows. Some of them put on shows like every day. Like I mean, these live streams are always going on, right? So that's the way they earn their living. It's a huge tool for the retail industry in China. And as I was saying before, they still have that same cash flow problem that affects virtually every business in China, right? So what we are doing is they sometimes have to pause, right? Because they need to get the cash. They don't get paid on time or whatever.
Buy the product. They got to get cash to buy the product.
Yeah, exactly, right? To buy product, to put on the shows or whatever and stuff like that. So the analogy that I use is the following. So I say, you know, when you're driving, right? You're in a big city, and then you're on a street. You get a couple of green lights, and then boom, you get a red light, and you stop, right? You have to stop and pause or whatever. So that's the analogy that I like to use. What we are doing is we're stepping in and we're making that whole space a lot more efficient. We're bringing our lending hub to the industry, and we're saying, hey, you know what? You don't need to pause anymore. We're giving you green lights all the way, right? So we're coming in and we're giving you timely funding, making the whole industry more efficient. So that's what we bring in, and that's one of the important key takeaways of this news release. Yeah, the announcement that we made was with a specific retailer, Gruppo Coin, based out of Italy. But this is just the first agreement that we have with one specific retailer, right? So the relationships that are important, really, it's not so much with Gruppo Coin, it's really with those influencers, because those influencers will do business with retailers. They also do business with a lot of brands, right? Because they're bringing brands into China, they're helping sell these brands, and they're making money and they're profiting from it. So what we're doing is we're bringing efficiency, we're resolving the cash flow issue, and we're making our customary 2% fee on everything that gets processed through our lending hub network.
Okay, so really, when you think about kind of the big picture, you got this 2% that you're making on financing these deals. In a way, really, you have and this is so this live stream stuff is just one facet of the e-commerce stuff that you're financing in China. You also have the different distributors. You do like traditional bricks and mortars retail now. I think if somebody kind of thinks about it, essentially Peak is getting a 2% royalty on all potential e-commerce sales in China. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. But yeah. I mean, you're not going to get the whole 100 billion or whatever it is, but you don't.
But you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, we're stepping in, right? We're stepping in. We're bringing efficiency. We're facilitating these transactions. These people, these entrepreneurs, e-shops, whatever you want to call them, influencers, they need cash flow, right? So we have visibility into their transactions. We see how they're doing, and we're able to use our analytics platform basically to qualify them for funding from our lending partners, and then we earn a fee. Now, that leads me to the second takeaway, right? That I want to address in the release, Jack. Now, I mentioned that these influencers, they sell products for retailers and specifically for brands also, right? They're very, very big on brands. Now, one thing you have to understand about China is, especially the millennials, they like, fashion and all of these things. They particularly like things that are not everybody has access to, right? Like foreign brands, or
like everywhere in the world. Everybody wants
everywhere in the world, exactly, right? Okay. So the second important takeaway from the release is that we have now forged relationships with 55,000 influencers in China. Those 55,000 influencers have about 120 million followers. And guess what? those followers are basically just watching those shows, and they're waiting for those influencers to tell them what great products are new, whatever, just they're there to buy, like, I mean, when they go on these shows, Jack, they're looking for product. They're not basically just going on the shows, like, to be entertained. These are shows basically to sell product, right? So all of a sudden now we have 120 million potential consumers who are waiting to be told what to buy. Now, here's the second important takeaway, right? So these influencers, we've already had conversations with them. Canada is very exotic. The US is very exotic to China, right? So we have brands here in Canada. By the way, just to give you an example, a couple of years ago, our partners in China came for a visit, right? They came to Canada, and for some of them, it was their first time, like, traveling to China. Traveling to Canada, excuse me, right? So we took them shopping downtown Montreal, and they're like, oh wow, like, I mean, all these. So they basically they bought. I don't want to say they bought the whole, like, city, but retail. I mean, they bought so many brands or whatever. Just one brand in particular called Arc'teryx. They're based out of Vancouver. They make jackets, clothing, or whatever. They loaded up on this brand. They brought it back to China, and people were just like, "Oh my goodness, where did you find this? How can I get it?" And their friends were basically just like, "Wow, like, I mean, this is an amazing brand. How can I?" So what we're looking to do, right? We're looking to approach Canadian brands now in clothing, cosmetics, ice wine. Another thing that's very hot is Aboriginal art. So there are a number of things that are typically Canadian, right, that we can now bring to China and sell through those influencers. And we can do that for US, we can do that for Europe, we can do that for retailers all over the world, essentially. So that's the second important key takeaway from this news release, is now we have this gateway that we're providing to retailers all over the world and to the Chinese market using those influencers, which is the way of selling in China right now, as we speak.
So I think there's a couple things. One is really essentially Peak becomes it's not just a fintech company. It's really a pure play on the Chinese e-commerce boom. I mean, it's a pure play, because you're financing. This is like Warren Buffett. That's how Warren Buffett looks at companies. They have a gross profit. It's like a toll bridge. You're collecting.
Exactly right. Like, I mean, we always talked about Peak being that bridge or that gateway to the Chinese market, right?
Toll bridge.
What's that? Toll bridge, right? We take a small fee, for allowing passage, right, to China, which is fine, right? So, but now we're demonstrating, Jack, that we have that ability, right? So it's not just like, okay, Peak is a company that's operating in China with these operating subsidiaries, but now what we're demonstrating is that, we're not just operating in China, but we have that ability now to give others access to the Chinese market. And as I mentioned before, right?
So you're going beyond fintech. Now you're actually getting into.
No, wait. It is fintech. I'll talk about the analytics part, okay, in a minute, because that's also important. The analytics
partnerships, getting the brands in. That's like a value add.
Yes, that's a value add. But you see, one of the reasons why it's going to be easier for those retailers to sell through the connections that we're providing in China is because we're going to be able to fund the influencers, right, in China, right? So those influencers, for instance, right? So those retailers will say, okay, you know what? This sounds great, but you know what? I'm going to need a deposit or whatever and stuff like that. I'm not going to basically just ship product over there in China, right? So you influencer, you need to place an order for me, like with me, you need to place an order for, I don't know, like 30% of the merchandise that you want to sell to show me that you're serious or whatever and stuff like that. We're going to be able to finance that influencer over there. You understand? We're utilizing our platform to facilitate transactions. So that's the fintech aspect of things. But now on the other side of the equation, right, the retailers and the brands that are outside of China, we can tell them, hey, you know what? We're giving you access to this market. let's, there's a fee for that. We're providing a service, and we will have the ability now to generate revenue outside of China, not just in China. So that's the second important takeaway that people should understand from the news release that was issued on Tuesday.
Okay, no, it's a tremendous opportunity. But in this, okay, so this is the new thing that you're doing, and of course you have the recently announced partnerships, with the distributors and everything else. How can you give us an update? Like what's happening? What kind of progress are you making there? I know you had an announcement just a few weeks ago where you had some some revenues that came in from just like the first kind of the first group.
Right. Yeah. You know what? Like, I mean, there was a lot of excitement generated with those announcements that we made with the distributors, and people are asking the question, well, are there going to be more deals like that? Are there going to be more relationships between Peak and distributors in China? I mean, the answer to that is absolutely. Like, I mean, why wouldn't there be? Like, I mean, there are more than just 2 distributors in China, right? Like, I mean, there are thousands of distributors in the country. Now, what we're doing is when we sign, okay, let's go back to the BDC deal, right? So that was a consumer consumer electronics products distributor that we first signed with, right? So that distributor's got an entire system, right? So they had a system where their clients would place orders, and they had visibility into their clients' transactions, right? So it's a fairly complex system, and in order for us to qualify their clients, we needed to have access to all of the information that they had on their clients and their clients' information as well, right? So we needed to integrate that system into the Kubler Lending Hub, right? So there's some IT work to be done. We're just about done, by the way, with the integration work, okay? But one of the things that we cannot do right now, because we're a growing company. We're still a fairly small company. We have limited resources in terms of our tech team, development team, and so on and so forth, right? So it wouldn't be feasible for us right now, Jack, as we speak today, to try to integrate 100 distributors, 100 distributor systems into the lending hub. It just doesn't work that way. Now, think about the value proposition 1 second for the distributors, right? So we go to a distributor, we say, okay, you know what? Right now, you're not offering credit financing to your clients. That's limiting your client's ability to purchase product from you, right? So we say, okay, you do a deal with us, you sign a deal with us, we're bringing the Kubler Lending Hub to your operations. You integrate your systems to ours. We have access to your data. All of a sudden now, all of your clients are able to qualify for funding from all of the banks and lending institutions that are part of this lending. So the bottom line for you, Mr. Distributor, is guess what? You're going to increase your sales. So the downside for the distributor is nil. There is no downside. So for us to approach other distributors to make a deal with them, it's a no-brainer. Okay. So in fact, we have distributors right now that have approached us, right? But we're not taking anybody on right now until we do the deal. We finish the integration with BDC. We have BJM also, which is a different type of distributor. It's a little bit less complicated, that deal. So we're looking to implement different types of distributors with different types of systems right now. So once we have that down, okay, to a science, we know how to do it, everything works perfectly, then we're going to turn on the valves and start bringing on more distributors. The only thing that we're looking to do before the end of this year is we talked about the distributors. So we're kind of like piloting 2 distributors right now. We're looking to do a deal. It's no secret, right? So we're looking to do a deal with a portal, an e-commerce portal. So that's a different types of system, right? So we will need to work with a different level of systems, right? So if we do a deal with JD.com or with Tmall, Pinduoduo, the largest e-commerce portals, we will have to adapt our system differently, right? So that's the third approach, the third line, if you will, of online e-commerce distributors, whatever you want to call it, that we want to test. Once we do that, then we're gonna know how to integrate everything, and then you're gonna see us turn on the valves and bring on a large number of distributors to the platform.
Okay, Johnson, I think I didn't even bring up the recent quarterlies. You had some tremendous numbers
Yeah, we did discuss the quarterlies. We had an investor call where we took questions.
Well, on our platform, you haven't yet. This is your first.
No. Well, I mean, unless you have specific questions, I don't know if there are questions from the audience, but we'll certainly take any questions if they have questions regarding.
But basically, you're on track now. So I mean, they were really impressive numbers. So I mean, you're on track to do what's the run rate right now? What's where you at right now?
Well, we did what, 15 million in the third quarter. So yeah. We had forecasted 40 million by the end of the year. Right now,
so you're ahead, basically.
Yes, yeah, we're ahead. Like, I mean, yeah, like, I mean, everybody knows that we will beat the $40 million forecast for this year, but we're still waiting to have visibility into some of the transactions that I just mentioned, the BDC deal, the BJM deal, the impact that this online, not online, but this
live streamers, the influencers,
the live streaming, the influencers. So as you can see, like, I mean, there are so many things happening right now. So when we tell people we need to wait until we bring out new guidance, that's why there are so many things right now, and we're not done. Like, I mean, we just started the month of December, right? So we are right now, Jack, in full-fledged business development mode. So yes, there will be more announcements between now and the end of this year. So at the end of the year, we will assess where we are, and then we're going to be in a position to provide guidance. But going back to the distributor deal, though, Jack, one thing I want to mention is that it's all about data, right? Everything that we're doing is about data. So the influencers, right? In order for them to have access to credit through our platform, it's not like a blank check, right? So we need visibility into their operations. We need visibility into their operations as well. So we're accumulating a massive amount of data. Everybody that we bring on to the Lending Hub has to contribute their data, right? So as I mentioned before, the integration work that is taking place for the BDC deal is extremely important. It's all about the data. So we don't basically just, okay, you know what, you come on and we give you, or bankers or financial institutions basically just give you money. No, you have to qualify. So that means we have to have access to the data. We have to analyze the data, or analytics or artificial intelligence engine has to do its job, and more. That's going to be important for Peak. So you can look at Peak, you can expect Peak to invest more and more in analytics and artificial intelligence. The more data we have, the better we are at predicting defaults, the better we are at qualifying businesses for funding, and the better information we have to benefit all of our partners. And I'm talking the financial institutions, I'm talking the retailers, I'm talking every other company that we want to partner with us. The importance of data, Jack, cannot be stressed enough.
Oh yeah, I mean, essentially, you're becoming like an Amazon.
I was just gonna say, companies like Amazon, right? So Amazon started out, right? They started out selling books, innocently enough, right? So they were selling books, but what they were doing was they were recording, a lot of data points, right, on people coming onto the site. What were they buying? Where were they going? That kind of. So we are essentially doing the same thing right now
through the influencers, and because what's amazing is
it's not just.
You have this. You're basically like an Amazon now, because you're going to see exactly what these influencers are, what they're selling, how quick they're selling, which products. I mean. And that you can put more products through. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity.
Jack, that's the quiet part of Peak Fintech Group, right? So people.
Did I just reveal a big secret?
Well, it's not a big secret. We've talked about it, but people because what they see right now, right? What they see right now is us facilitating transactions, right? Financial transactions, but they don't see the importance of the data. All of the data that allows us to qualify these people for funding, and as you mentioned, it's not just okay. Does the small business qualify for funding? But now we have access to purchasing patterns. We have access to retail patterns, all kinds of valuable information, Jack. That we're going to be able. That's why I keep telling people, PKK is, yes, we're a fintech company, but we are very much an analytics and AI company. So right now we're not. It doesn't appear like we're doing anything with the information, with the data that we're collecting, but we are. And eventually it will become evident to people how important that data is.
Okay. Well, that's again, whenever the big data is always now that is value in these companies. I mean, that could be worth more than everything you have now. I mean, that data is.
To be honest with you, I've told that to I've told that to some of our investors. I really believe that the data will have more value than the transactions that we're facilitating, right? So people are trying to estimate Peak's revenue, and that's fine, right? So they're trying to estimate Peak's revenue right now by making calculations. They're taking their calculators, okay, 1,000 or 200,000, 300,000 small businesses. They are selling for X amount of money per year. Peak is getting 1-2% or whatever. They're trying to estimate our revenues that way, which is fine for now. But I really believe that over time, we will make more money from the data than we are making right now from facilitating the transactions with the platform.
Yeah, just like I had another company which is a very different, completely different business model, different market, but again, the data is a big part of their business, and I kind of like to use the analogy that essentially what you have, it's almost like you have a cattle ranch in Texas, right? You're buying this cattle ranch, but underneath the cattle ranch, there's like 2 billion barrels of oil. So you're paying for the thing, but you're getting the real money comes from the oil that you get. As long as you get the mineral rights as part of the deal, that's where you're going to make money. But in the meantime, making money on the cattle, selling steak.
Right, exactly, right. Yeah. So the revenue that we're generating right now is call it the first phase of
it's the cattle ranch business, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And when is the oil gushers? When are we going to hit that big gusher? That
like I said, Jack, I'll give a hint right on your show, just for your audience, right? So I'll give a hint on your show. Expect us over the next weeks, months. Expect to hear more about investments in AI coming from Peak. So that's a hint. That's all I'm going to say right now. So certainly, we are, we're always working hard, and behind the scenes. So we have the data, we know how valuable it is, and there will be more hints in the coming weeks, months, in terms of where we're going to go with this data.
Okay, I mean, I think that it'll probably show up in your numbers maybe in about 6 to 9 months.
Definitely, most definitely, yes.
Let's jump into some audience questions, because this is what this is really about. I mean, we're here to, because this is okay. So let's go into first question. What's the estimated average loan you are facilitating through through the influencer channel?
Okay, that's a good question. It's roughly okay when you take the cost of the cost of producing the shows and the deposits. We estimate it will be between $30,000 to $50,000.
Okay.
Canadian dollars.
Sean is asking, will Peak do the financing, or will there be a lending partner that people?
No, we don't do the financing. No, these are lending opportunities that we make available to the banks and the lending institutions that are part of the lending hub.
I think, Johnson, I think it's important to make this point, because this is kind of what is the good thing, is that you're not making loans, you have partners, so there's multiple institutions involved, which avoids the problem that I think
that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the lending. Yeah, that's the beauty of the lending hub, right? So because there are so many different types of lending institutions there, right? They all have their own lending criteria, right? So the chances of somebody signing up on the lending hub to get a loan or credit is much better than if they had gone on their own to approach a bank or any single financial institution, right? So we have, I think we have over, I'm losing count right now, but we have over 50 financial institutions right now that are part of the lending hub.
Okay. We got Hami's here. He's asking, could you potentially partner with somebody like Shopify?
Oh, good gosh. Yeah, obviously, we would love to partner with Shopify, but you know what? Based on the announcement that we had on Tuesday, where Shopify, right? They're the retail kings of Canada, or I think they do business in the US as well. Yeah, so Shopify would be like a nice partner with us. So we're not talking to Shopify or anything like that, but certainly you can see where there could be some synergies between what we're doing and what they're doing.
Okay, so Anthony's asking, with Peak having bigger wins recently with larger companies, has there been a shift from smaller business partnerships to prioritizing larger business deals?
Can you repeat the question?
I guess he's asking, like, are you focusing on big partnerships instead of smaller? Like, I guess where is?
Oh, okay. No, I get it now. No. Listen, we are always for the little guys, right? So we're trying to help the little guys get access to funding. Those are the guys that have the most difficulty, and our focus is always going to be on them. So one of the reasons why Ant Financial has been so successful, despite the pause on their IPO, but I think I've mentioned this before on a previous appearance, Jack. The reason why they're called Ant is because they're helping the little guys, right? So there are many little guys in China. That's where the opportunity is, and that will always remain our focus. Yes, we started out doing on the higher end of the supply chain, working our way down, like helping distributors, and now more and more retailers. But our focus is always going to be on small retailers, micro businesses, and entrepreneurs.
Okay. Sean's asking, any plan for partnership with JD?
Potential partnership with customer purchasing
Electronics on JD.
I'm not sure I understand. Any plan for a potential partnership with end customer?
And I guess customers buying electronics and JD, or JD is a selling platform, though, right?
JD, yeah, JD is
Okay,
JD is like kind of like Amazon. They are I think the second largest e-commerce portal, the second or third largest e-commerce portal in all of China. But just like Amazon, they sell their own products, right? So they are the portal and also a retailer. So there are a number of things that could be done with JD, and we'll see what happens. But obviously, we would love to be able to work with them.
Okay, I guess a related question. Mike is asking, has Peak had any talks regarding possible agreements with any of the big three, I guess, e-commerce platforms?
Okay, yeah, I've mentioned those three before. What was the question? If we had any talks?
Yeah, regarding possible agreements with any of the big three. Like, are you making deals with like an Alibaba?
You know what? Like, I'd rather not comment on that right now. It's it's not something I can comment on for the moment, Jack, unfortunately.
Okay. Any uplisting plans? A bunch of people are asking about NASDAQ, or what's kind of the plans?
Oh yes. Before we get on the NASDAQ, there have been some questions about new regulations that were recently passed. I think some people are concerned about our ability to, because we mentioned in the past that we wanted to go on NASDAQ. And I know that some people are concerned about our ability to go on NASDAQ because of new regulations that were passed in the US affecting Chinese companies that are listed in the US. So I want to address that first. Yes, Chinese companies apparently are not required, or were not required, to file audited financial statements in the US, right? And give access to their audited financial statements to the Securities and Exchange Commission on any of the large exchanges for whatever reason. But that has now changed, right? So I think that the Congress has passed new regulations making it mandatory for those companies, those Chinese companies, to give access to their audited statements in the US. Now, one thing I want to make clear is you have companies such as JD.com, Alibaba, that are Chinese companies that are listed on NASDAQ and other US exchanges. Peak is not a Chinese company. It's very important for people to understand that. Peak is a Canadian company. So we are regulated by Canadian regulators, and we already comply with all of the disclosure and regulation requirements set by the Securities and Exchange Commission. As we speak today, if you go on the OTC website, PKKFF, you look at disclosure documents, you're going to find our audited financial statements. So there are no plans for Peak not to continue to abide by the Canadian and US securities regulations, because we are a Canadian company with operations in China, not a Chinese company listed on a US or Canadian exchange. So there's a big difference. So there are no issues, by the way. So it's a non-issue for us to be listed on the NASDAQ. That being said, we have started the process to prepare the documentation. We've looked at all of the requirements to list on the NASDAQ, and there's some paperwork to be done, and we're in the process of doing that paperwork right now.
Okay. Now, I think I'm seeing a lot of comments. People are starting to understand the value of the data aspect of what you're doing. I think Hammy is saying, yeah, Amazon was selling books, but the data is, okay, so they're comparing you to Amazon, a mini Amazon, a Chinese Amazon, but you're going in through the back door, you're coming in through the financing door, which is better.
Right. Regardless of how you have access to that information, right? Like, I mean, Amazon started by selling books, right? And Amazon does a lot of things right now. Like, I mean, they know everything about everybody. Don't ask me how. And you have companies like Facebook as well. Facebook has a lot of information on people. So these are companies, right? Although they're providing a service at the surface, right? So Amazon is selling you product or whatever, but really what makes the strength of those companies is really the intelligence, right? The AI that they have, the algorithms, right? So they have information, and their ability basically to utilize that information for a variety of purposes is what makes those companies what they are. By the same token, what people see right now of PKK at the surface, of Peak at the surface, is they see a company facilitating transactions between small businesses and financial institutions, right? But what they don't see is all of the data aspects, right? So all of these things, for them to happen, we need to have access to data. To be clear here, I mean, this information is totally encrypted. It's anonymized. You know, like, you know, if people were to break into our servers or whatever, they wouldn't be able to make sense of the information. So that's number one. So we give the required comfort level to our partners so that they understand that their information will not be compromised. But absolutely, we are an analytics and AI company at the core, right? So we are a fintech. Yeah, we're three things. We're a fintech company because we're facilitating financial transactions, but at the core of Peak, we are an analytics and AI company.
So we got an interesting,
and that will become more and more apparent.
Okay, so we got an interesting comment from Hammy saying that the data can scale at 100 times whatever you're doing now.
Well, I'm not going to put any metrics on it, whatever, but again, internally, we all know at Peak that the data has more value than anything that we're doing right now.
Okay. Dan is asking, where do you see Peak 5 years from now? 5 years is like a lifetime.
It is a
year from now. Let's 2 years. Let's 2 years. The 5 years is like in the tech world.
Well, call it 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years. I think what you can expect to see within 2 to 5 years, is that you will see Peak be recognized more as an AI company. Right now, we are a fintech company, again, because of what we're doing at the surface. But I think 2 to 5 years from now, I think Peak will be recognized as an AI company, an analytics company, more than a fintech.
So I guess Adam is asking, he asked this comment before, but when will you start monetizing the data we're talking about?
Certainly within the next 2 years.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, so this is coming up. So we got let's see here, Container Guys. This guy's very bullish. He keeps saying it's going to be $100. So let's.
What's that? What is that? Can you put that?
My name is Container Guys. That's his name.
You know what? I like his thinking though. No, like, I mean, we're not here to obviously talk about the stock price or anything like that. So no, like, we're going to continue to do what we're doing, build a fundamentally sound company, and reward our shareholders and our investors.
Oh, Mike, when do you launch the is this launched already? When do you launch this?
The influencer campaign. When do you launch it? It's actually launched. Like, I mean, we signed the agreement with Grupo Coin. In fact, our people, our guys were attending, I think, one of the first shows based on that agreement. We will post some pictures on our Twitter or Facebook probably in the next couple of days, just to give people a glimpse. I think it'll be fun for investors and shareholders, basically, to get a glimpse into how these shows come about. So we have some pictures that were sent to me last night while the shows were going on. We'll post those on our social media pages for people to see.
Okay, so yeah, a couple of people have actually asked this. So I'm popping this up. So can you? I guess this guy's asking, how will you take the profits out of China?
Okay, you know what? We get that a lot. In China, if you're a foreign entity operating in the country, there are certain rules and regulations that you need to follow, and there are processes that the government has put into place for you to bring profits outside of the country. So it's really like a non-issue. It's a non-issue for us. We haven't had any profits to take out of the country, but certainly we expect to be profitable at some point in 2021. So we've started the process to do the paperwork and to put the mechanisms in place to be able to take profits out of the country at some point in 2021. So we expect to be able to do that without any issues.
Okay, Johnson, right now the focus is on China. I think this question is about, are you investing in Southeast Asia? Like SEA is a big player there. Or do you have any plans to enter Southeast Asia?
Yeah, this is something that we addressed early on as well. We will eventually make our way, I believe, into Southeast Asia. But right now, China is such a huge market, right? So we want to make sure we continue to exploit the opportunities that we have in China. It is a humongous market. As you can see, I mean, there are new verticals popping up left, right, and center. There are different kinds of businesses, different types of ways in which we can expand our services in China. It's a country of 1.3 billion people, over 100 million small businesses. So there's a lot of work left to be done in China before we expand our services. But certainly what we're doing in China can be replicated in other parts of other parts of the world, and certainly Southeast Asia is a market that we will eventually get into, but it's not for this year or next year.
Okay, Johnson, we're running out of time. We're going to go to a few more questions. Matt is asking, have you had any resistance or pushback from Chinese companies integrating or contributing their data into your system?
Absolutely none. Zero whatsoever. China is different when it comes to privacy and access to information. There's been no hesitation from the companies that we've been doing business with. We also give them the assurance that the information that we gather is totally anonymized. It's aggregated. So there's nothing basically that would identify a single company per se. So everybody's really comfortable with everything that we've been doing so far in China.
Okay. I'm not sure if I asked, but okay. So I guess Sarfraz is asking, I think the question is, what kind of revenue potential do you see just from the influencer channel, that new channel alone? What kind of
okay, you know what? Like okay, he's talking about the potential, right? So we try to give some metrics in the press release. So we have like 55,000 influencers right now. The influencers to put on a show cost them $1,000 to $10,000, and for each show we could be financing $30,000 to $50,000. So I think we said that they put on 250 shows. The numbers just get like ridiculous in terms of like, what the potential size would be, right? So it's really just a matter of like, systematically working with these influencers and seeing what the reality is. So the potential is, there's huge potential there. We're talking in the billions of dollars, but realistically, what can we expect from this channel over the next 6 to 12 months? Again, we will have to do a few transactions and to have a better understanding, to be able to estimate what we can expect from this deal?
I think it's important to clarify that, for example, I think some of these influencers, like you mentioned, 200 shows, basically, if somebody is selling, they're an influencer selling, shoes, right? I mean, they're doing, obviously it's like a store, right? And you're doing a show on shoes on Monday, then you have another show on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Meanwhile, you got to pay for those products, right? So you might have 3 shows a day. I mean, it's the sky is really the limit, right? So
yes, actually, like, you know what? Some of those influencers put on more than a show. It's a full-time job.
It's a QVC, basically. Yeah, it's like QVC.
Yeah, exactly. It is their business.
Yeah,
it's a full-time job. Now, we're so excited, honestly, about this new deal, because we spoke to the influencers, right? So again, Canada, cosmetics, clothing. It's what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have it there in China, right? So there's a novelty effect, right? If you have an influencer, I have to read about just one thing. Okay, there's one particular product that they inquired about. I don't know. It's Bite Beauty. I don't know how they know about it, but Bite Beauty is a brand of cosmetics in Canada, and they make organic grade lip products. I don't know what that means, but apparently that's something that would be hot in China, So these are the kinds of things, right, that we can help bring to the country. So that particular brand, obviously, I mean, I don't know if they do business right now in China, but we could help them do business in China through our network of influencers. So, and the influencers are already excited. That's the thing, Jack. They're excited about some of the products that they could have access to through us, because we're a Canadian company.
I think what happened was, from what I read in recently, when this thing started becoming big, it's been, this live streaming thing has been big in China, but it came to kind of the attention of sort of the media in the US, because once the COVID thing happened, all the businesses, all the stores in China were shut down. Yeah. So, and they did an article about this lady who was actually, literally, she was selling shoes, right? So people couldn't come into her store. So she was basically doing a show from her home and selling shoes, and she could interact with the audience. Like I'm interacting with you, right? She could say, yeah. Oh, this is, and somebody would, I guess they can connect, and they say, oh, this shoe, and then she would say, oh, you would look great in this shoe because you bought the other one. And it's a very interactive, yeah. It's social, basically.
Exactly.
And it's COVID proof. It's actually, so this is a great thing.
Just to finish, I know we're well over time here, but just to bring that home a little bit. Pinduoduo, right? I've mentioned Pinduoduo several times. And Pinduoduo is, I think now they are the second largest e-commerce portal in all of China. And Pinduoduo, when Alibaba came out with Taobao and Tmall, it was like, wow, people thought, okay, you know what? They've cornered the market. No other e-commerce portal would be successful. JD came onto the scene and was very successful. Pinduoduo came on even later. And they were like, okay, what are they going to do basically to take clients away from, from Alibaba, Tmall, and from JD.com? Pinduoduo came in and they were interactive. The thing that you just mentioned right now, it's not just selling online, right? But it's an interactive platform. If you want to buy something, right? So you can interact with the merchant, the merchant can tell you.
That's the whole part. They have a conversation.
That's the thing. Like it's an interactive. So they brought that interactivity, right, to online selling, and they just skyrocketed. And this is what those influencers are doing on a smaller scale, kind of like on a one-to-one scale. So this has huge potential, Jack. Huge potential.
It's kind of like this channel, except the audience can actually get connect with video, and they can talk to you instead of the chat.
It's social media. It's social media. Like, I mean,
yeah. So, but they have it there. It works on their platform. Okay, so Johnson, we're running out of time. We're going to get you back soon. I want to ask the last question, which we always ask. Same question, it never changes. Top 3 reasons why investors. Let me ask the first question. One is, what's the pipeline of news? What can we expect in the next couple of weeks? And then my question, top 3 reasons to own the stock today.
Okay. As far as the news flow is concerned, obviously, there's a reason why we're not putting out guidance, right? People are always asking me, okay, why, where's the guidance? The reason why we're not doing that is because obviously there are more, we're working on more deals, right? So, I mean, it's no secret. So people can expect more deals to be announced between now and the end of the year. That's number one. So that answers the pipeline. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the deals, obviously, until they're announced. But yes, people can expect more announcements with partnerships or whatever and stuff like that to be done between now and the end of the year. And to answer your other question about the top 3 reasons, it hasn't changed. It's still the same, Jack. The market, China, right? The biggest market for fintech in the world. Fintech and now, well, AI, whatever you want to call it, right? So over 1.3 billion people, over 100 million small and micro businesses. So we're in the right space. The second thing is people. It takes good people, great people to build great companies. We have a fantastic team here in Canada and also in China, and we're adding to that team. So we're recruiting people from the banking sector, from the retail sector, all these different industries that are seeing our vision and they're coming to be part of the Peak Fintech group. So the team is the second thing. The third thing is we're undervalued, Jack, plain and simple. Like, I mean, this company has tremendous upside. So those are the 3 reasons I think that people should take a serious look at PKK.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, definitely stock is undervalued, based on the comps with the peer groups. So
right.
All right, Johnson, thank you for joining us once again. We're going to have you back hopefully in the next week to 10 days with some more good news. And let's get ready to meet our next presenter. Johnson, I'll see you on the next one.
All right, thanks, Jack.